What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Stand Your Ground. I'm your host, as always, Alex Bennison. I am joined at the moment by one half of the Mighty Whites podcast, Jack.
Yeah, mate, how's things?
Aye, not too bad. How about you?
I've been better. If you don't beat Newcastle, generally speaking, it's not a good weekend.
Yeah, it's a shit way to start your weekend, to be honest, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an even shitter way for KC to finish his weekend with a slow-running laptop. He will be with us later.
Yeah. We don't need him.
Part of me wants to go straight into things, but obviously we've got some sad news from the world of football today. 1966 World Cup winner Jimmy Greaves has sadly passed away at the age of 81. He will be known for his goal scoring record, with Spurs being their top goal scorer and probably known as Tottenham's best player ever.
Obviously, a lot of that stuff, it's before either of our time, so I couldn't say for certain whether he was or not. But if someone said to me, name a Spurs player from before you were born who was the best, that's the name that had come to mind. Based off reputation, etc.
Yeah, he did play for multiple clubs, Chelsea, West Ham, and Spurs being the three notable ones. But 220 goals and 321 appearances for Spurs is an incredible goal-scoring record. And then 44 goals for England at senior level makes him the fourth top goal scorer for England ever. It is a sad day.
I can say the difference with his England record compared to all others is he played like half as many games.
When you think about that England side, that 1966 England side, people do look at Bobby Charlton because, he also had an incredible England goal scoring record and was an incredible goal scorer. But Jimmy Greaves, if he had the same amount of games, would have probably scored a lot more goals for England.
Yeah, it was, by everything that I've read previously and the stuff that you've read today, it's pretty much everyone saying he was the best goal scorer, but especially English, by a distance at the time. Everywhere he had a hell of a record. Even the brief AC Milan spell was 9 in 12. It's not like he came back because he couldn't hack it in Italy. He just came back because that was the thing he wanted to do. It was I'm older than you and I'm too young for even the cultural reference of Saint and Greavesy. Being a massive thing on TV and stuff like that. So we're not really best placed to talk about it, but there's several very good obituaries all over the place, and I'd recommend reading a couple of them to get people who know more than us talking about it.
Yeah, and obviously our condolences are with his family and friends at this sad time. So I don't really want to say swiftly moving on because it's a hard thing to transition from.
It's worse. You could have said, speaking of condolences, that was a terrible result for you at Newcastle. That'd have been a worse segue.
To be honest, I wasn't even going to go into the Premier League results at the moment. I was going to talk more in depth about the European competitions coming back because I got a few questions for you about that. And we can stall the going through the games till KC gets here and he can put his 2 pence in about how bad Leeds were.
Yeah, fair enough.
So the Champions League, Europa League, and the Mickey Mouse competition of the Europa Conference League started this week. Started on Tuesday, and obviously all the games finished on Thursday. Some English clubs and UK clubs had better starts to the the opening round than others. Some were beaten by young boys, and some beat European giants.
Yeah, I didn't get to see all of it. I saw the end of. I've seen the highlights of most of it, but I saw the last half hour of Liverpool Milan, which appeared to be a really good game. It was a great winning goal by Jordan Henderson. Not the sort of goal you expect from him, but it was a brilliant finish. Man City v Leipzig was the exact kind of game you'd expect it to be because both teams are much better going in one direction than the other. And that's a hell of a start. And of course, Man United getting beat by young boys was objectively hilariously funny.
Yeah, so I've got some weird stats from this. Young Boys beating Man United. It's their second Champions League win. Their last Champions League win was against Juventus, that Ronaldo was playing in that game.
Mm-hmm.
That also finished 2-1. Nkunku for Leipzig becomes the first Champions League player for Leipzig to score a hat-trick in a game, which a little bit of history for a club that's relatively new. And Sebastian Haller with his 4 goals on his debut in the Champions League. He's the first person to score 4 goals on his debut since a young Marco van Basten for Ajax.
Wow, that is a stat. I didn't. 4 goals in that game. It is one game, so you can't say it. But unfortunately, I don't think it was on here, so I can't pull it up as proof. But I did have a conversation with KC when Haller went to Ajax, saying they'll turn him back into the striker West Ham thought that they were getting.
Yeah, that one that was at
Dusan Tadic became an absolute world beater when he was there. So.
You know what's really scary is looking at Ajax's recent results, both in the league and the Champions League, and how well they've been playing. I mean, they've won this weekend 9-0.
Yeah, they were playing Canberra, I think, weren't they? I haven't seen any of it. I just saw the result come up on Twitter or something.
And it's not like it's one player that's running the show, because when you look at the goal scorers, I think the only person who scored twice in that game was David Neres. Yeah. So they've got multiple goal scorers across the full front 3 that are interchangeable. You go into the back, into the midfield, and they've got Davy Klaassen finally playing like the player that he should have been when he signed for Everton. And they've got that Gravenberch as well, who looks like he's a pretty decent player.
Yeah. You always just expect Ajax to be great to watch and win loads of games. I mean, when we played for 2 friendlies against them in pre-season, the first team absolutely battered us into the ground, and young Ajax absolutely battered our 23s into the ground as well. They've got some serious. They've always had serious talent there, and you just know every year some new 18-year-old is going to be in the side and look brilliant.
Yeah, and it's weird because their young 18-year-old that looks brilliant is on loan at Club Brugge.
Well, I'm going to say, no, I don't know. Didn't that get made permanent in the summer, the Noah Lang one? Or have they got another one?
He might be now a permanent transfer. I know it was a loan last year.
Yeah, I think it got made permanent in the summer because we were linked to him a little bit, but it was more than us being linked to him. It was more everyone who's seen him saying, this is who we should be trying to sign.
Yeah.
And yeah, it appears that he might be that good. But we've got Dan James, and he did all right.
He put himself about, and he loves a challenge. What more can you say? And, probably should have had a penalty.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I was trying to put this off as much as possible, but I don't think we really can. We probably just have to get into the Premier League games, and when KC turns up, KC turns up.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll have something to say.
Don't worry, KC can't really talk about the Leeds goal at the start of his game anyway, because he'd gone for a piss and he missed it.
Leeds won, Newcastle won on the Friday night. I completely forgot this was on a Friday night. I spent all day thinking, I can't wait, for the Saturday early kickoff, Leeds versus Newcastle. Oh, fuck, no, that's today.
Well, obviously, I was much less likely to forget because we went.
Yeah. I bet that goal was great to watch all the way up there.
Well, that away end is ridiculous. I know everyone talks about it, but that is too high up and too far away. Like the cross, it's a great cross from Rafinha. And now I've seen it on TV. Rodrigo, it's a very good dummy. He deliberately jumps over the ball and lets it go in the corner. Now, from where I was, I thought he'd just missed it. And we'd got lucky, but it wasn't actually lucky. It was very good. This game was just missed chances. I mean, both teams, like Newcastle should have probably had 3. It's just we should have had 6.
Yeah.
That first half was so it was. I know it's almost turned into a cliche about Leeds games where they start saying it's like a basketball game, but it sort of was. It was just end to end, and there was a point where both teams were just playing one in midfield. It was like
Yeah.
I think it was Longstaff for them and Calvin Phillips for us, and then it was just like your defenders and your attackers, and there was just nothing in the middle. So the game just went straight up, straight down. They had a couple of other players did okay, and I'm not actually saying this as a jab because I don't really have an issue with Newcastle, never have done. I actually grew up quite liking them because my first football memories are around when they were pretty good to watch. It's Keegan Newcastle. So I've never had an issue with Newcastle, but I think they're the most one-man team I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, he got man of the match on Sky. Did Saint Maximin?
He got man of match from all the Leeds fans as well.
Oh well, this is the thing. I watched this at the pub, and every Leeds fan was complaining that it wasn't Ilan Meslier that got man of the match.
Meslier did have a good game because he made a few good saves, but no, I'd have given it Saint Maximin by a mile. He was streets. I mean, he was streets ahead of every Newcastle player, and was probably ahead of everyone else as well because everything that they did that was good came through him.
You know, it says something. If he had a competent striker or a competent finishing striker,
or
next
Callum
to him,
Wilson could stay fit.
Yeah, or play Dwight Gale.
I think he might. He's a good finisher, but I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League now.
But he's better than Joe Linton.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Linton actually did okay playing on the left wing. He wasn't great, but he did okay. He did better than he normally would. But like the thing is, I said about how far away that away end is, and you can't really. It's hard, especially when it's the first half where we're attacking the far end. Despite all of that, I could still tell that it was a pissing penalty. Like I was roughly half a mile away. Would be about what it felt like, and everyone to a man went up and said definite pen. Except actually for KC, who thought that it might not have been.
There was part of me thinking that the contact was made just outside the box at one point, but they never went to a proper VAR like kind of replay where they'd be able to show you. They just showed you the contact, so it wasn't like the line wasn't you weren't able to tell.
Yeah, whereas I've now seen it back several times, and it's not been the best week for VAR. There's been a few contentious ones across a lot of games, but like these are the ones where VAR really pisses me off, because if that just doesn't get given, I can go fucking Mike Dean. That's just a shit decision. But they have the opportunity to watch 5 replays of it, and they still can't see that James has knocked the ball past him. He's completely missed the ball, and he's clattered into Dan James. It's a blatant penalty. Like, it's absolutely blatant. Like, even the likes of Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher and all of that, who... It's weird. They do trip over themselves to praise Bielsa, but they don't trip over themselves to praise Leeds. It's a weird situation because they actually like something about us now. But like every single person to a man that I've seen has just gone, yeah, penalty. I don't know how that hasn't been given.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been an odd week for it. But sort of rest at obviously we've now got 3 points from 5 games, which isn't enough at all. The only 2 defeats being Liverpool and Man United you can sort of live with. But the draw with Everton was an okay result. Even the draw away at Burnley, while it wasn't good, it was an okay result. That one was a shit result. Because they were crap with Newcastle. Yeah. And we were quite good in the first half, but in the second half we were awful as well.
There was one thing I wasn't sure on the subs that Bielsa made.
Same.
Bringing Roberts on for Rafinha and playing Roberts on the right hand side.
Well, it was yeah. I can't remember which order they came off on because Roberts came on for James, didn't he? Because James went off first. And he played
Roberts
wide.
on for, and then Somerville on for Rafinha.
Yeah. Now Rafinha was injured. So that's why he went off. There was rumours all day, actually, that him and Harrison were going to be out. And seeing as Harrison was out and Rafinha didn't look to have picked up anything extra obvious and then went off. Makes me think there probably was truth in both of them. It was I did find it a bit odd. If James was going off, I don't know why we didn't go straight for Somerville and just play him wide, because that's his position. It's not Tyler Roberts' position at all.
Yeah.
But we, as at Newcastle, I couldn't say it was like ridiculous that they got a point. I think we were a better side, and we probably should have won game. But that second half, we just got dragged into their game, and either team could have won it, really.
Yeah, I think injuries did obviously disrupt you. Rafinha coming off. Somerville, I didn't think got to show the best of himself. Yeah, I mean, it's only a short spell at the end of the game, but there's a lot more for him to show.
Yeah, and it's his first team appearance for Leeds. He has been lighting it up in the 23s. By the way, if anyone out there hasn't seen it, go on Leeds' Twitter and check out the goals from Leeds under 23s 4, Liverpool under 23s 0 today. Joe Gelhardt scored 2 unbelievable goals.
And wasn't even on the bench for this game.
No, which I must admit surprised me. There's a lot of odd ones with Bielsa and youngsters is weird because he completely trusts all of them when necessary and throws them in. But if he doesn't think it's necessary, he won't play them at all. It's a really weird balance that he's got. Well,
you might have to trust one of them for your next game, seeing as Luke Ayling came off. Cresswell was on the bench.
Yeah, I was going to say 23's captain is Charlie Cresswell, and he is the best centre-back we've got at that level. I would think he's probably going to play against Fulham on Tuesday in the League Cup.
Yeah.
And we'll see from there.
So, moving on to the Saturday games. I'm trying to remember what the early kickoff. Wolves 0, Brentford 2. Wolves are having a terrible time for the start of this season. They struggled to find the net for the opening 3 games. Then the last game, they had an own goal and Wang Hee-chan scored on his debut. So they finally got off the mark there. But again, Brentford just seemed to overrun them, and it felt like the Wolves team just didn't know where anyone needed to be.
Yeah, they were just, the Wolves were just outplayed by a better team. As far as it looked, like Brentford, obviously I'm not expecting Brentford to end up in 6th or anything like that, but I thought that they'd be fine. I thought they'd be mid-table. And I'm looking at Wolves and seeing a team that might well be down there, and I'm looking at Brentford and thinking they're even better than I expected them to be.
Tom Frank has got them playing quite well.
Yeah. That front two of Tony and Mbeumo it's a threat for everyone. Brian Mbeumo's incredibly inconsistent, but he's always a threat. Tony's just good.
Sergio Canos as well.
Yeah, who's ended up playing as like a wing back, which I wouldn't have seen coming a couple of years ago. But
he's is it Rico Henry that plays left back for them?
Yeah, the one who, he nearly got a big move a few years ago, and he was out for like a year or something with a knee injury. And he's worked his way back.
I don't know whether he's fully fit at the moment, which probably explains why Canos is kind of filling in that left wing back role. But he's a great player.
Yeah, Canos has played a lot of right wing back as well. He's a good player. Obviously, as a Leeds fan, I'm gonna rate Pontus Jansson quite highly. But like Pinnock's a good defender as well. He's a bit more limited technically, but he's still good. Christopher Ayer has seemed to settle really easily. Christian Norgard had a cracking game. In like
their midfield I think is probably one of the best young midfields out there, because I think that Josh Da Silva as well is an incredible young midfielder.
Yeah, he's one I haven't seen as much of recently, but in the Championship he looked really good.
Yeah, and this is all coming off the back of, I think they sold who was the guy who scored their playoff?
Emiliano Marcondes.
Yeah, they sold him to Bournemouth, and he looked like he was going to be great for the Premier League.
Yeah, I don't think he was quite at the level, so they just got rid of him rather than give him a new contract on big money. Well, bigger money. But no, they were just better. Both of the goals that got disallowed were correctly disallowed. It was offside, it was handball for the other one. But if Brentford had got 4, it wouldn't have been ridiculous by any stretch.
No, it wouldn't have been a flattering scoreline.
No, they were just miles better than them all game.
Yeah, and then from one team that looked like they were going to have trouble scoring all season long, Arsenal finally found the back of the net in the final game against Norwich and won 1-0. And they've done the same away from home. Odegaard scoring a free kick that means that they beat Burnley 1-0. He's a good free kick as well. And to be honest, I think that the major talking point from it was it's nice to see that he actually stood up for himself and went, no, I am taking this.
Yeah, it's a good free kick and it's a solid win. Burnley were a bit, obviously Sean Dyche has signed a new contract at Burnley, which is enough to make me think they'll probably stay up because they normally do. But I did read something on Twitter that it's something daft, like they haven't won in 13 home games or something. Including last season. And I didn't realise it was quite that many. And they do need to sort that out. Because, we said before the season, if they had just about any other manager, you'd look at that squad and go, well, they're getting relegated.
Yeah.
And because Sean Dyche is good at what he does, you think, oh, they'll be okay. But I don't look at that squad and think that Maxwell Cornet is enough to change anything drastically.
No, I think for your two creative outlets to be him and Dwight McNeil, I think that screams we're probably in trouble here. And to still play two up top of Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood.
Yeah, it's nothing drastic, but they're just stagnated and have just been dropping bit by bit. So they could be in trouble. As for Arsenal, I think before the season I had them 6th because I was being generous. Or I might have had them 7th, I can't remember. But, I look at them and think mid-table at the minute. They were the better side in this, but they're not exactly inspiring. But 2 clean sheets in a row is big for them. And it looked as if they did a lot better with Ben White in that game. And Ramsdale had a good game as well, which is good to see because they've overspent on him, but at least if he then performs well, it doesn't matter so much.
Yeah, now they've got him into the starting lineup, it does make me just think, right, what club is Leno going to in the January transfer window?
He'll go somewhere in Germany, I would have thought. And he'll probably leave it while end of season because he'll be on a free. And he'll get a bigger signing bonus then.
Yeah, maybe we'll wait till, see if Schalke come back up. But yeah, moving on, Liverpool 3, Palace 0. And we went from having Palace last week, who played an incredible game, and it was completely different to the Roy Hodgson Palace that we'd seen, back to, oh no, it's the same thing again.
I thought Palace played all right in this, to be honest. I thought they had a few chances. And yeah, they were second best, but they should be. I honestly, I thought they did okay. And they got beat by a good team. They shouldn't read it. Like when we got beat by Liverpool, I aren't reading out into that because it's Liverpool and they should beat us. And it's same for Palace. And Liverpool, another 3-0, another solid win. And they've been pretty impressive, but I think I saw a team today that looked a lot more impressive, but we'll come on to that probably at the end.
Yeah, Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, and then navigated with a volley at the end, which I think he needed. And you could tell on his face that he probably needed it just to get a few of those Liverpool fans off his back.
Yeah, because he was a lot of money, and he hasn't been awful by any stretch, but he hasn't quite lit things up in the way that a lot of people hoped he would. That was one thing that surprised me, but basically all 3 goals were set pieces, weren't they? And that's not something you'd have expected. Like Roy Hodgson's Palace would have probably got beat by more, but they wouldn't have conceded 3 from set pieces.
To be fair, the Mane one, it's a rebound and then he's put it into an open net. The Salah one, it's come over the top of the keeper and he's just lashed it and it's gone in. It's a good finish. The Navigator one is a stunning volley and it's hard for the keeper to save. So they're not beaten by
No,
goals that you don't expect.
it's not like, if people remember it, Fabinho's won against Leeds last weekend, where ball comes in, Leeds have chance to defend and just do nothing 3 times and let them have 3 attempts to shoot before it goes in. It wasn't that level of bad defending, but I think Riedewald was the one that lost his man twice, and that's not going to have gone down well.
No, I'm sure Patrick Vieira, even though they had the big boost of beating Spurs, I think we'll probably look to make some changes defensively for the next game. But someone who will be looking to make some changes, and he did make some changes, and it went horribly wrong after asking all the fans to come to the stadium. Man City 0, Southampton 0, and to be honest,
this could have been worse.
Should have been Southampton's game. It should have been Southampton's game, in my opinion.
Southampton have done really well because they were everyone's. To be honest, I was going to say everyone's dark horse to get relegated, but I don't think you can say dark horse because so many people picked them.
Yeah.
Obviously, they did not have a good window, and you really wondered where it was going to come from, but they played pretty well in this. Obviously, Man City missed some chances because they're always going to create something. But Armstrong had a couple of good moments. Adams did as well. That bro, I don't know if it's Bro Hat or Bro Ja. I think it's Bro Ja. But they've got him on from Chelsea. He looks decent as well. And as for that penalty shout with Kyle Walker that got given, like, I do think that Walker kind of gets across him and he sort of goes down into his leg.
Yeah.
So I could see it not being given. But once that's been given on the pitch, there is no way that's a clear and obvious error to overturn it. It was an error to give a red card because double jeopardy rule and all of that. You can't say he isn't going for the ball. Even if you don't think he was, you can't say he definitely wasn't. So it should only be yellow. But you can't overturn that penalty decision. It's one of them where if it didn't get given on the pitch, it probably shouldn't get overturned the other way either.
Yeah.
But it's inconclusive and the on-field decision should have stood there. So, yeah, they should have had that penalty.
If this is last season, I think we're talking about it, we are saying that is a penalty. I do agree with you. Yeah. I don't think it's a red card, but I think we do agree that last season it's a definite penalty. This season it's a 50-50. It depends who's reffing.
And then, yes, I am just going to be a Leeds fan having a moan here. They're saying that decision was more obviously wrong than the foul on Dan James. Right? Which one was obviously wrong? It wasn't fucking this one.
We've got a comment from Matt saying it should have been a penalty.
Yeah,
I do agree.
By the way, shout out to your brother Matt. He did the 3 peaks yesterday. I'm losing track of what day we're on, but he's raised a load of money for the Natasha Algie Foundation. So good on him. And at some point, it is on it's on our Twitter at Mighty Whites Pod. If anyone wants to give him a couple of quid.
Yeah, go to Twitter there at Mighty Whites Pod if you want to donate.
Yeah. We don't want your money, but he's done a good thing for charity, so give him a couple of quid if you've landed an accumulator today or something on football or yesterday. Chuck him a couple of quid.
But yeah, so we'll move on. Other than saying, what did you think about Guardiola coming out and asking for more fans to turn up to the Etihad?
I don't really give a shit. If I'm being honest. I mean, there was no need for him to say it, but I don't think him saying it is some horrific thing either. Like, it is weird that Man City's ground has that many empty seats that often. I mean, like, I don't know loads of Man City fans, but I know a Man City season ticket holder who regularly doesn't go, and he says because it's shit now. It's just not what it was anymore, and that doesn't appeal to him the same way. And I think there is a bit of that.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand why the fans got a little bit pissed off with it, but I think a lot more has been made of it than there should have been, really.
Yeah, it did. I think it got blown out of proportion, but for him to double down in the next interview and be like, if I'm wrong, I'll leave.
Yeah,
But
if you have a problem with me, then I'll quit. I did like that. I was like, oh, cool, you tell him. But I'd have admired him saying that and just being pissy about it, even if I thought he was completely wrong. Because I just
yeah,
I'd love, even though I don't, I mean, I don't like the, the way that certain petrol states are using sports washing to clean up their image and stuff like that. Obviously, I don't like any of that stuff. But Man City, going back through history, because they hate Man United, I've never had a problem with. It would be hilarious to me if they get like one of the best coaches in the world and have all this success, and the way it ends is a fallout over some just innocuous comment he made in an interview, and it all falls apart.
everyone just leaves.
Yeah, it just all goes wrong. But yeah, it's not, they didn't win anything and he got sacked, or he left because he felt he'd achieved everything he could. No, he said something about not enough fans turning up and everything went wrong. That'd be a much funnier way for it to happen.
But moving on from Man City to another team that I think is in serious danger already, even though we're only 5 games into this season. Norwich 1, Watford 3.
If I was head of PR at Paddy Power, I might pay out bets on Norwich being relegated.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Norwich fan that comes and plays 5-a-side with us, and he sent a message after this result with just a Norwich top that just says "we're fucked" on it, and he just put, "I might just get this."
Yeah.
Goals from Dennis from across, which was really well won in the area, but he should not have been able to win that ball.
Really good cross from Kiko from in here.
Yeah. Pookie scoring off I believe it was a bit of a lapse in defence. I think the pass ended up going astray, and then Norwich just claimed the ball, played him straight through.
Yeah, it was a poor ball to... I'm not actually sure what that Norman's first name is because it was his debut. I think it's Mateus, but I'm not sure. But he played a really good ball in behind. Pookie ran onto it, good finish. I still don't think Pookie's good enough to play week in, week out in the Premier League. He was a couple of years ago. I don't think he is now. But he's still a good finisher, and he took that well.
Yeah, and then 2 goals from Sarr, which he was one of those players that was tipped to have such like a massive future, and I think he was seen as this big future star, and I never saw it. But going down to the Championship, playing in that league for one season and coming back up to the Premier League, you can see he's matured as a player, and I think you're starting to see that he has got those abilities.
Yeah, it looks like it's done him good. Like, he had impressive games before. As soon as Watford went down, I assumed someone was going to come in and buy him. But they stuck to the guns and said, no, if you want him, it's like 40 million. And no one was willing to pay that because that first season wasn't so great. And in the end, him staying there for another season, I think, has benefited all parties.
Yeah.
He was by far the biggest threat throughout the game. And looks like he'll be one all season.
Yeah. We spoke about it at the start of the season when we were talking about transfers, and we were saying people that come from Belgium or the Eredivisie or the Scottish League normally find it hard to either settle. We're talking when we were talking about strikers anyway. But this Dennis seems to have come in and hit the ground running. He looks to be a real threat for Watford.
Yeah, he's not one who I know as much about, to be honest, Emmanuel Dennis. I think that the whole sometimes strikers from Scotland take a lot longer to settle has been disproved by Odson Edouard scoring 2 goals in 10 minutes on his debut. I think that's broken it.
Is that it now? Is that any striker now that comes down from Scotland?
Yeah, if they don't score twice on the debut now, they're a disappointment. But no, he looked decent, but he's not one who I've seen enough of to really make a judgment on. It was a good finish for the goal.
Yeah. And then the final game of the Saturday, the late kickoff, Villa 3, Everton 0. And I've never heard of a player come off the bench, get a goal, get an assist, subbed off, and still get man of the match.
Oh, did he get man of the match? I did watch I watched almost all of this game. I missed about 5 minutes of it, which meant that I missed the first and second goal. I have since seen that bit back, but like this was a pretty even game until Leon Bailey came on, and then suddenly Villa were just all over them. And in that 15-minute spell, they're lucky that it wasn't more than 3, to be honest. It was a good goal from Matty Cash, and have you seen the interesting thing with Matty Cash?
No.
His mum is Polish, and apparently he might be going to play for Poland.
Oh, so he's gonna go play right back, take over from Piszczek.
Yeah, well, which, I mean, if he has that option, that's what he should do, because obviously the one thing England does have a shitload of is right backs.
Yeah, so, if he wants international games.
Yeah, that's a good decision for him.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's not like Poland are a terrible national side. We have to say that now because we drew 1-1 with them.
Yeah, they've also got like one of the best strikers in the world. I know that he's getting on a bit.
Which will help him at right back.
Yeah. It always gives you a chance. It always gives you a chance though if you've got a top quality striker.
Yeah. So yeah, goals from Matty Cash, an own goal from Luca Digne, which was from a Bailey corner.
Bailey plays for your lot.
From Bailey corner, and then Bailey scoring himself, and then was injured later on in the game and was taken off, which is a shame because he was one of the signings that when they sold Jack Grealish, I thought that is an absolute bargain buy to replace Jack Grealish with someone of Leon Bailey's quality, and to also have got Buendia as well. But when they started this game, they started with Ings and Watkins up top. There were part of me that were thinking Dean Smith did get it wrong, but bringing them on and kind of just hitting Everton out of the blue with both Bailey and Buendia, I think really did work well for Villa.
Yeah, it was a good sub. It really made a difference. It's not like Rafa Benitez to get caught like that by a tactical change. It's normally him doing that to others, which is what they did on the Monday night when they beat Burnley. The change is really it's normally that way around, but yeah, just as soon as they made that change, all of a sudden there was only one team in game.
Yeah. So on to today's games. 3 games from today. We'll talk about the one that was not on TV first, and then we'll go on to the one that was on TV. Brighton 2, Leicester 0. There's a lot to talk about from this game.
2-1.
2-1, yeah.
Jamie Vardy.
Neil Maupay scored a penalty. Did feel harsh on Vestergaard, but you can't have your arm out there.
You can't have your arm up, but he's facing the other way, and I think he might have been being fouled.
Yeah.
I think that was very harsh. Like, really harsh. It wasn't as harsh as that one that got given against Eric Dyer against Newcastle last season, but it was sort of the step above that. I'm not so. I don't think I'd have given it.
You'd have thought when they went to VAR that I think on another day it probably is overturned. It's very much the same as the Walker penalty incident at Southampton. On another day, that's probably given.
Yeah, that's one of the things because it was given on the pitch, wasn't it? That one because they said decision upheld. Because obviously I've only seen highlights of this one, so I wasn't 100%, but it said decision upheld, and that's less bad in terms of VAR. Because I think it was a harsh call, but if it's a harsh call rather than a wrong call, you can't really overturn it.
No. And then Welbeck with a header, a flick on from a free kick, which, to be honest, with the size of Leicester's defenders, Welbeck shouldn't be getting a flick on.
Yeah, it was it was pretty much unmarked. He had loads of room, and it was a really good header, to be fair.
And a goal that I think will go under the radar for the team build. It was really, really nice to watch. Was Jamie Vardy's goal for Leicester? Just the little intricate play between Lookman, Pereira, then Tielemans with a cross, and then Vardy at the back just to stick it in. It was a really well worked goal.
Yeah, really nice one-touch football. And then you get to it was a really, and then Vardy just being Vardy, getting on into something 6-yard box. That's fine. But all the talk will be about the 2 disallowed goals.
Before we do say them, that is Jamie Vardy's 150th goal for Leicester, which is an incredible record to say. How many years has he been there? 6 now? 6, 7?
Might be 7. Because is he 35 now? Because I think because he was like 30 by the time he got in the Premier League, so I think he'll have been 28 when he signed for Leicester, but I'm not sure on that. I know it's been a while.
But 150 goals in 7 years is pretty well off.
Yeah.
Then the 2 disallowed goals. First one, I completely agree with. I believe that it's offside.
I think he was stood in the keeper's eye line in front of him when that ball comes in towards goal. So I thought this one was fair enough. Now I have only seen it once briefly on like the Sky Sports 3-minute highlights, admittedly. But my gut reaction on this one was that it was probably fair enough.
The VAR highlights, I think, is great for this because the keeper moves to the direction of where Harvey Barnes is stood, and the ball goes in the opposite direction, which I think helps them give it as offside. Because if the keeper moves to the same way that the ball is going, I think it's a harder one to call. But he's judging that he's going to aim for the side that Harvey Barnes is at, and his gut instinct is to, right, I'm going to try and cover this side as much as I can because I can't see if it's coming.
Yeah,
which goes against Leicester. But the second one, I think, is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be offside because they're almost like they're touching each other, Barnes and the keeper. But then, a second before Ndidi heads the ball, Barnes steps away.
Yeah.
And then the header comes in, and on that one, I don't think he is in his eye line. I think he's out of the way. I don't think he affects the play. I think that one is very, very harsh. I think Leicester have had the rough end of it today because I don't think I'd have given Burnley that penalty. And I think at the very least, the second one of the disallowed goals should have stood.
Yeah, and I know we're very early on into the season, but I think it's going to be one of those games that Leicester will look back at and go, if that had gone the other way, that might have changed the season.
Yeah, it's far too soon, but you never know. I suppose even though it's not the same sort of thing, because it was mostly bad finishing and stuff like that, but Brighton were unlucky last season. Maybe this is just them getting one back.
Possibly, yeah. And I also think Leicester missing Wesley Fofana as well is a huge, huge miss this season because he had an incredible season last year. So on to the game that was on TV at 2:00. Man United 2, West Ham 1. And West Ham were incredibly, incredibly unlucky to come away with absolutely nothing from this game.
Yeah, they deserved a point out of this. Just balance of play. I thought West Ham were pretty good. Like the goal, admittedly, the goal was lucky. Big deflection. But I just thought in terms of if they'd have had Mikel Antonio, they'd have taken advantage of those breaks a bit more than they did.
Yeah,
that isn't unlucky. That's stupid from Antonio because it was a silly red card to get. But I do think that West Ham were a bit unlucky today. Although in terms of decisions, I mean, if you see Man United fans on Twitter, you'd think that they should have had 4 penalties. I think they probably should have had 1.
Yeah. And I think we can both agree it's the one where he runs into Koufal.
Yeah, that Koufal one. I mean, he's run 3 yards off line to run into Koufal, and it's like it's ridiculous. But the Zuma one, although he is going down a little bit early, Zuma gets nowhere near the ball. I think it probably is a foul. If I take out the fact that I hate him, I think that probably was a foul. But obviously that prick scores the equaliser. It's a good cross from Fernandes. Fabianski, I won't call it a goalkeeping howler or anything, but Fabianski will think he should have held on to the first one.
Yeah, the ball. I'm not sure it's gone down at the moment as Ben Rama's goal. Now, it looks like it may be given as a Pogba own goal just because of the way the deflection went. But at the moment, it stands as Ben Rama's goal.
I think Ben Rama will keep that.
This second one, the one that we're talking about now, Fabianski is incredibly unlucky because it's just the way he hits the floor and it just pops the ball out. He's tried to hold it before he's hit the ground. If he tried to just parry that away, it's a safer finish. And Ronaldo, being Ronaldo, just a little bit sharper than everybody else, is expecting that keeper mistake and is there to tap it in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's had a good start in terms of goal scoring. I hope he never does anything again successfully in his career.
And then obviously it had to be, old romantics and all that. Jesse Lingard comes off the bench, score the winner for Man United. Not without the final bit
as well.
Not without the final bit, but before we do get to the final bit of this game, it is a fantastic finish from Jesse Lingard, and you can tell on his face that one, he's so relieved to make up for the error that he did at Young Boys, but at the same time, he looks so apologetic to have scored against West Ham.
Well, he knows that. I mean, it would be an oversimplification to say, they saved his career. It isn't quite that much. But they might have saved his career at the top level.
Yeah.
Because he was never going to get a look in at Man United without having a ridiculous loan spell. And he did have a ridiculous loan spell. It's a really good goal. If you're being hypercritical, you could say they stood off him a bit too much. But it's a really good goal. And if you're not, the narrative was, well, he's going to score winner. And then he screws up in the Champions League and costs them a game. That just makes it even more gonna happen, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then, we talk about old romantics. There's 3 minutes of added time. In the 92nd and a half minute, Luke Shaw gives away a penalty for a handball, which was definitely
a penalty.
A handball. Yeah.
his arms out straight. There's no way around it.
And David Moyes, after watching the Euro final, thought, what's a really good idea is bringing someone off the bench directly just to take a penalty. So Mark Noble comes onto the pitch in his final season for the club to give them a point against Man United at home. And
Mark Noble, who never misses penalties, versus David De Gea, who never saves penalties. And it was nailed on to happen. And it's not a great penalty. It is a good save. Anytime a keeper saves a penalty, it's a good save. But it wasn't a great penalty. The thing that was so bad about this is that it's not just that David Moyes made that change. It wasn't just, a few people going, that's a bit risky. All I saw, this was the one bit where I looked at Twitter, because I opened Twitter when I saw him coming on, just to say, is Noble going to take this? Because I wouldn't do that if I were you. And the timeline was just, no, don't do this. No, because it's all Leeds fans, basically. Going, don't do this. Crying out like, don't do this. You're going to... Everyone knew. We've just had such a high-profile example of why this is a bad idea. And he still does it. I don't know if... I mean, obviously, David Moyes has done a great job at West Ham. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. This doesn't change that. But, if this was, football manager logic of someone does something really stupid and you just fine them 2 weeks' wages, it wouldn't shock me if Golden Sullivan went, we're fining David Moyes a week's wages for that, because that was just stupid. For me, Declan Rice should have been taking that penalty. Yeah, because, his record's been pretty good since he started taking them. And more importantly, he was warmed up. He'd been on the pitch the whole game. When he was doing it, I could not believe what I was watching. And especially for me, of course, who really, really wants Man United to not win. So I'm just going, oh, God. And as soon as it happened, I was sat in the living room with my fiance. And I was just there saying, he's definitely going to miss this. He is 100% going to miss this. I have zero doubt about it.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it was such a ridiculous thing to do.
I had the exact same feeling because the penalty got saved and I was in the same position as you, sat in the living room with my fiance watching it. And I didn't even I didn't go jump out of my seat or anything. I just went, yep. And
Yep.
she went, is that it? Is that all you're going to do? I went, yeah, but it was just going to happen.
That's what you fully expected to happen.
But yeah, so Man United coming away with 3 points. It took them back to the top took them back to second, joint top with Liverpool. Liverpool on top because of goal difference until the final game. The first, what was it? Game 0?
Yeah, it's a carbon neutral game. I mean, I am very much pro doing all the environmental stuff we could, but in terms of this, I didn't look into the specifics of this exact one.
The specifics for this was, please don't drive to the game.
Well, it's in London. Don't drive anywhere.
They wanted more people to cycle to the game.
No, don't cycle to a football match.
And
get the tram.
And it was partly because Tottenham's stadium is made with mostly recycled materials. So,
I didn't know that. Mind you, though,
yeah, but
at the end of the game, you could see plenty of the plastic that they'd made it from.
Yeah. To be honest, going in 0-0 against this Chelsea side, I think was a good first half for Spurs.
For about half an hour, they did all right. But Chelsea were better, but they did all right. And then it was basically, especially once Kante got going, all of a sudden, it was a bit like that Everton Villa game, in that there was a bit where it was even, and then it all went one way. And by the end of this, I thought Chelsea could have had about 7.
Yeah, it's not your normal goal scorers as well for Chelsea in this, because you would be expecting someone like Mason Mount. Definitely people will have been expecting Lukaku.
Well, Lukaku would have scored, but I had him in my fantasy team, so of course he didn't.
The game was built around, these are 2 of the best finishers in the Premier League. Who's going to come out on top? And it turns out Thiago Silva, Kante and Rudiger were going to come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, Thiago Silva's was a good header. Arrived late in the box, quite good movement. Kante's is just fluky, really. It's massive deflection. But no one begrudges Kante. I begrudge Chelsea. I don't begrudge Kante because he's a good guy. He'd be one of the ones that'd hurt the most if it came out that he'd done something horrible. And Rudiger's finish is a really good one as well. Good pullback from Werner. Werner, they kept trying to set him up and he kept making a mess of it. It's like they were dying for him to... Even Lukaku was dying for him to score, turning down shots to play him in. But no, it just wasn't happening.
Hey, he got a yellow card.
But yeah, this second half, basically once it went 1-0, they were just all over him. And if it was billed as Lukaku versus Kane, then Lukaku won it. If it was boxing judges, it'd have been a 10-5 round. Because Lukaku was in the game and very involved, and Harry Kane was so quiet in this game and just getting visibly more and more frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, and this does take Chelsea, but I can't remember if they're top or if they're second. I think they're second by 1 goal. But this Chelsea side looks incredibly well drilled. And the stuff and the people that they've got on the bench to bring on as well still looks quite scary. So you can't even say if they get a few injuries, is it going to be the same Chelsea side? Because they've shown it. I mean, at the start of the season, was it Chabot that scored in opening day? They've got depth to their squad that they can play and will have a good season no matter what. How far they'll go in European competitions or the other competitions is yet to be seen, but they will be one of the top 2 by the end of the season.
Yeah, they should be. I still think Man City will win the league. I still haven't changed my mind, but if Chelsea win it, I won't be even slightly surprised. Like there's a reason other than just blind not liking him, which admittedly is true. There's a reason why I got so annoyed about Frank Lampard all the time. It's because he was also doing an objectively crap job and because he's mates with everyone in the media. You never heard about it. And look at what's happened now that they've got a good coach. All of a sudden, that they were really. I mean, Lampard had this squad minus Lukaku, which admittedly Lukaku makes a big difference. Don't get me wrong, but it was a great squad before, and now it's
but it's not like Tammy Abraham was a slouch at scoring goals. Look at him for Roma.
Yeah, he did have striking options, but as I say, Tuchel's a really good coach. That's a really good squad. If they finish third, it's not a disaster. But if they finish third and they're 15 points off the title winners, they'll probably be really pissed off with that.
Yeah.
Because they should, even if they don't win it, they don't have to win it, but they should get close as a minimum.
Oh, definitely. They should get close.
I've heard a few different pundits say this sentence, and I think they're probably right, where they said, if you finish above Chelsea, you'll win it. And I think that's probably true.
Yeah. And I know it's very early to call the league. We are 5 games in. Lots can happen. Lots can change at this point in time. But they do look strong. And very much the same as looking at Norwich at the bottom of the table. You've got this sneaky feeling that they're going to be there or thereabouts by the end of this season.
But yeah, they're just very good. I wish they weren't because I don't like Chelsea, but they're a really good team.
Speaking of which, the Fantasy Premier League, as we always do, every year we do a Fantasy Premier League here at the Buzz and on Stand Your Ground. At the moment, Ayama Damala is at the top with 364 points. It is very early to say, but 364 points after 5 weeks is an incredible score.
That does sound like a pretty big number.
Well, he's got 81 points this week.
Yeah. For what it's worth, this week I've got 50. And 24 of them are Mo Salah. So
I got 64 this week. And that is taking into account that I had Ferran Torres captained and he didn't play a single minute.
Who was your vice for?
Jamie Vardy.
Ah, well, at least he scored.
Yeah, but it means Koufal comes onto the pitch, so I get a point for that at least.
Yeah. The only one I left on the bench that did anything was Livramento, because it was a Southampton defender away at Man City. Why would I not have him on the bench? How am I? You can't expect a clean sheet.
But yeah, that'll do us for this Stand Your Ground. But before we do finish and before you go anywhere, we have got a quick video to show you all the live podcasts here at the Buzz, what time they're on, the running order. So make sure that you check this out and make sure that you subscribe to the Buzz to see them.
Where's the competition? Bring on the competition. We need some competition. Y'all ain't no competition. It's time to ball. Yeah, shout it, time to brawl. Cause see, we bout to stomp y'all from the jump fall. Me worry not at all. Your team is gonna fall. Hope you learn something from it, cause we schooling all of y'all. Putting you to shame. Don't hate you even came. Bringing the pain to anybody coming through the lane. Simple and plain, we gon' play it like we playing dames. Ain't got a chance, even if we give away the game. So hope you brought your best. Go put your skills to the test. An early off season, about to lay your team to rest. Chalk is another loss. That's what it's gonna cost. Go with your instincts if you're having second thoughts. Your buck, this is where it stops, player. From the point to the center, whole team got hops, player. We be the kings of this division, here to knock you out the box, player. Just wait until I get the rock, player. We tired of playing losers. Oh, y'all think y'all some winners? Don't matter who we up against.
Yeah, that's all the live shows here at the Buzz. You can follow the Buzz on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at WTBdotcom. We hit over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube the other day, which was an incredible achievement for us. So make sure you go over there and show that some love, and all the other social media platforms. And if you want to see more of Jack, what would have been KC, but if he hadn't had the laptop issues, you can listen to their Leeds United-based podcast at Mighty Whites Pod on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's where they live stream everything. And then you can listen to the audio version afterwards, streamed everywhere other than Acast, because fuck Acast.
See, he's such a pro. We had to get you in just to do the links at the end of ours.
Just sit there for, I don't know, 55 minutes just to do that bit at the end.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, that'll do us for this episode of Stand Your Ground. Jack, thank you for being on again.
No worries, mate. The next 2 weeks I'm working late on Sundays, so I'll probably have to miss a couple.
And I'll be groggy as fuck next week because I'm on a stag do on Saturday, so that should be a fun episode.
Ah, well, that'll be perfect then. That's the content people want.
Yeah, goal happened.
Yeah.
Bye. Yeah, but that'll do us. Make sure that you check us out next Sunday, same time, 7 p.m, 2 p.m. Eastern, and we will see you on the next episode. In a bit, guys.
In a bit.